What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. Sorry there for a little bit of a mishap there. We have some technical difficulties at the moment. My PC is running a bit slow, but we're here for UFC Vegas 14, of course, the preview. We're 9 minutes now away from the prelim, starting. But Paul Felder versus Rafael dos Anjos is happening in 5 days' notice. Paul Felder took the fight. What a gangster he is. Give that BMF title away from Jorge Masvidal. Give it to Paul Felder. He deserves it after this week. And it's a phenomenal fight. Obviously, the original battle for this weekend was going to be Islam Makhachev versus Rafael dos Anjos, but unfortunately Makhachev pulled out to, I believe, an injury or at least illness related. It wasn't COVID pretty much that he pulled out to. It was either an injury or an illness outside of COVID. But he's not fighting tonight. That fight will take place on another day. But the Irish Dragon Paul Felder stepped in on 5 days' notice. Was supposed to be on the commentary booth tonight, but instead he's main eventing the second fight in a row. Now, of course, he started the year against Dan Hooker in Auckland in New Zealand, and he main evented that and came this close to winning that fight, albeit a takedown in that 5th round, took it away from him. But you could see both sides of it. He could have won that fight. It wasn't a robbery, but you could see it being given both ways on the night. But Dan Hooker did win that one, obviously went on to Dustin Poirier. Lost that convincingly, you could say. And then Paul Felder on the night made his retirement announcement. But since then, he's had some time away from the sport in terms of competing, at least. He's been on the mic on a consistent basis, and he does a fantastic job on that. And to the point where you're looking at him going, you don't need to fight anymore. You've got such a good, safe job here commentating UFC fights, which I'm sure many of us would love that opportunity, probably both stepping into the cage and being next to it, next to the likes of John Anik, Brendan Fitzgerald, Michael Bisping, etc. But tonight, he was training for a triathlon that he's supposed to be doing in March. He's still got that in his intentions, and he's been able to take away from the sport. It feels like he gets very emotionally invested into it, as you expect any fighter. But some fighters are able to disengage themselves from the pressures of fight, and the others almost get consumed by it. We see it with Donald Cerrone, for example, who gets consumed by a fight week, and by the time he's stepping into the cage, he almost doesn't want to be there. And then that can dictate how he performs on the night. And it feels like Paul Felder's very much on the same route. But the fact that he took this on short notice, he hasn't had 8 weeks to be thinking about tonight. He's thought about it for 4 or 5 days. In terms of fighting aspect, I'm sure he's been looking at tonight and Rafael dos Anjos on a commentary standpoint, at least for the past week or two. So yes, he steps on that treadmill, as he was saying, and it's going to be interesting what happens tonight. If he wins or loses, what his future is. Obviously, he said there's 50-50 chances of him retiring, but if he comes in there, storms Rafael dos Anjos, a former champion, albeit hasn't won too many recently, that might give him that extra spur to continue. He's 36 years of age. He's still, comfortably in the top 10 of that lightweight division with some killers around him, but it all depends on that. If he loses quite convincingly, maybe he will then turn around and go, yes, my time to hang up. But he said on the night, or he said with Ariel at least, it's 50-50. And if he loses, he might want to come back and get a good solid win on the board for him to retire off into the sunset for. But as we mentioned there, Paul Felder, his record's not too bad. 2-2 in the last 4, lost to Dan Hooker and Mike Perry, respectively, and then obviously beat James Dick and Edson Barboza. But before then, he's got a win over Charles Oliveira, who's now above him in the rankings. He beat Steely Ray, of course. And if you hadn't seen the quite chilling interview between him, I believe this was a broadcast night at least, but about his father passing away and how he's not properly mourned that, and how the majority of the success, you could say, has come past the passing of his father, and how much that meant to him and how much he's almost bottled up. But he came out this week, and it seems like he's had a very emotional week in terms of himself mentally. He seems like he's got himself in check, but it seems like he's had to go a little deeper this week, maybe, albeit unexpected, because I don't know. It seems like whether the mindset he's in at the moment is something we see at the start of fight camps each week, but we've just not seen it personally, because obviously we don't normally get the first couple of weeks of camp encapsulated like that. But it did tug on the heartstrings, and tonight is one of those moments, and I think 2020 is the year that the fighters who risk everything get the rewards most this year. And you take that back to Justin Gaethje. He took the risk up against Tony Ferguson to become the interim champion. Obviously, he didn't reach that full goal in terms of beating Khabib Nurmagomedov, but no one has, so you can't take that away from him. Kevin Holland, Hamzat Chimaev, all taking risks this year. Gilbert Burns, you could say, is taking a risk this year. Obviously, Damian Maia then beat Tyron Woodley to become the #1 contender. So Paul Felder's up there with this one. He's taking a risk tonight, and should it pay off, he's beaten a former lightweight champion. He's back in the mix because obviously, albeit he's not been outside the rankings, we thought he was retired and not coming back. But a good win tonight for him would probably let that fire to go on another charge, similar to like what Donald Cerrone has done. Glover Teixeira is probably a big inspiration to him at the moment, 41 years of age, still looking to push on for a title. But, it is an interesting one. The fact that he's had so much time off, the fact that he's been able to relax and not think about fights. I think this one could push it in his favour tonight. But we'll have a quick look at Rafael dos Anjos, of course, as well. Unfortunately, maybe we've seen the best of Rafael dos Anjos with all due credit to him. Obviously, former lightweight champion we mentioned, moved up to welterweight for the majority of the fights in recent times, and he's lost 6 of his last 10, 4 in his last 5 as well with that win against Kevin Lee. He's lost to Leon Edwards, Michael Chiesa, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. So albeit, Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington are top 5 welterweights in there, and Rafael dos Anjos was in that welterweight rankings for a long time, for that top 6, top 5 spot as well. Had wins over Robbie Lawler, Neil Magny, of course. But it's difficult to know where to put him. He's got a legendary career, and he's probably got a resume that, a loss tonight would probably get him picked up by a Bellator or a PFL, perhaps. Bellator could do with someone maybe with their lightweight. Maybe Chandler's come over to Bellator. You could see maybe Rafael dos Anjos go the other way. And obviously, he can fight a welterweight, and Bellator do need some extra welterweights to challenge Douglas Lima and Michael Page and the likes of those two as well. But yes, we'll have a quick look at the tape, of course. It'd be interesting to see what Rafael dos Anjos does with, also having only 5 days to prepare for this fight, having spent the camp looking at Islam Makhachev, of course. 17-5 up against 29-13. So you see the vast amounts of experience that Rafael dos Anjos has picked up, of course, both at 155. It's interesting that Paul Felder, he made weight 135.75 on weigh-ins yesterday. He wasn't over at all, and came in fact lighter than Rafael dos Anjos. Very close in reach and leg reach, 2-inch advantage to Paul Felder, who's an absolute gangster, by the way. He's fought on collapsed lungs, etc., etc. The amount of injuries that he's had in his career and kept grinding, kept going. He really is the BMF, you could say, this year. And maybe that's what we do with the title. Maybe we have a vote for it, almost like Fighter of the Year, and we're like BMF of the Year. I don't know what to do with that one. Or we let Masvidal keep it. I don't know, but I think Paul Felder might get it done tonight. It's interesting. It does make the pressure to Rafael dos Anjos a little bit more as well. Because obviously, Islam Makhachev, many people were thinking he was going to get the win. He's the next in line to be, the next Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's meant to be taking the reins of that camp and that gym. But for Rafael dos Anjos, he's fighting someone who's higher up in the rankings of the lightweight division, which we'll take a look at the rankings now. You see that obviously Paul Felder in number 7, and we see, the absolute barn burner that is at the top of the division. Khabib Nurmagomedov still champion, of course. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor, Dan Hooker, and Charles Oliveira all eyeing up, overtaking Khabib as the champion once he does retire, which it doesn't seem like it has been yet, and it could be, could be 30-0 for Khabib in the searches there. It looks like he could be coming back to get that goal of 30-0. Maybe against GSP, maybe a coach on The Ultimate Fighter as well. That's my 2 cents on that. I think he comes back for The Ultimate Fighter against someone like GSP or the winner of McGregor Poirier. And we see that final bout next August, September, when he gets a chance to become 30-0. But yes, Paul Felder obviously number 7 in the lightweight rankings even. And a win tonight against Rafael dos Anjos confirms him in the top 10 at least, and he's beat Kevin Lee already. So a win over Kevin Lee and Paul Felder, where you're looking at the rankings, that puts him in there against the ally Quintus Diego Ferreiras, maybe up against Charles Oliveira, a former, a fellow Brazilian as well. But yes, I do think all eyes are on Paul Felder tonight. If he does get the win, it could be a very teary octagon once again this week. We've had quite a few tears in recent times, both with Khabib and Anderson Silva, and we could be adding to that tonight with Paul Felder. I kind of hope not, because this sport does, it does bring so many highs and so many lows. But yes, and also to add with Rafael dos Anjos, he's got a grappling belt in Submission Underground coming next month, so it'd be interesting to see what damage he takes, if any at all, how long the fight goes, because it's, on 20th of December, he's fighting Donald Cerrone on Submission Underground. which is going to be an absolutely stacked card as well. The likes of Felicia Spencer on that card, Fabricio Silva or the Doom's going to be on that card, I believe. It's a fantastic bout, and I'm not one into submission on the ground or jiu-jitsu too much, but the fact that you got those names on that card does make it a little bit special and a little more enticing for the more casual jiu-jitsu fan and submission underground fan, knowing that you've got some household UFC names on there. But yes, we move on to the co-main event, of course. We have got Abdul. Let me 1 second, my computer's running a bit slow. Here we go. Abdul Razik Al Hassan, obviously 10-2, and he's facing Chaos Williams, of course, who's 10-1. So this bout is a catchweight bout at 172. Obviously, with COVID-19 in recent times, fighters are taking it on short notice and not being able to make, that 170-pound limit or the natural weight classes that we have in the UFC. But this is going to be an absolute bomb, and I think it could be a fight on the night potential, or at least a performance of the night for one of these two if they get a knockout on the other. You see this 7-fight win streak that Chaos Williams has built up for himself now. JP St. Louis, PJ Kajigas, Tony Heathy, Lindarius Jackson, Bo Yan, Jeremy Holloway, Alex Moreno, of course, who he made his UFC debut against. He beat him with a knockout in round 1, of course, back at UFC 247. So he's coming back tonight against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who is 10-2, as we mentioned. Coming off a loss to Manir Lazez, of course, who made his UFC debut on that night, I believe, back in July of this year. Of course, Nico Price he beat before that one as well. So he's got some good wins on his name and on his resume. But it's going to be an interesting one tonight, and it's going to be a fun one, I reckon. These two are going to come to knock out one another. Obviously, this card has taken a few hits on it, and it isn't the best card of all time. It's got some. It had some cracks in there, and obviously we saw media, get a little bit of a hit from the likes of John Kavanagh, etc., about people not wanting to watch this card and almost remember when in terms of backing up fighters, being like, remember when this media, remember when the media turned their back on you, or along those lines at least. But it is a good card, and it's got some cracking fights in there. And one that I'm personally buzzing for, of course, is Cory McKenna versus Kay Hansen, of course, in the strawweight division. Kay Hansen 7-3. Cory McKenna making her UFC debut tonight at 5-1. Of course, she was on Dana White's Contender Series. She's one of the 30 so far that have got a contract before the final episode next week. She beat Vanessa Demopoulos, of course, in a unanimous decision that almost didn't see her get the contract. It was a very close one, but Dana White did give her the contract on that night, where I believe everyone that fought or won on that episode of the Contender Series got a contract at least as well. But we do take a look at the teletape, of course, 7-3, 5-1. Cory McKenna for once comes into this one, as a taller fighter. I don't imagine that's too often she comes in as the taller fighter, but she does have a quite a significant reach disadvantage in terms of 5 inches there on Kay Hansen. And Kay Hansen's, no Bellator coming through the Invicta Fight Championship organization. Of course, she's on a 3-fight win streak and a fourth one through an exhibition bout. You could say, beating the likes of Jean Frey, Liana Pirizin, and Nicole Cagliari. All by, 2 finishes and a decision there. So Cory McKenna, you could say, being thrown in the deep end for her UFC debut. But I think that's more of the compliment towards her. She's only 21 years of age. Obviously, a team alpha male with Uriah Faber at the helm of that as well. So she's got a good team behind her. She's got a good mentality as well. And for any, she's only just turned 21 this month. But that she's fighting in the UFC. She's got a huge career ahead of her, and she's fighting on a main card on a UFC card, albeit not the most stacked one. But eyes are going to be on her tonight. She's going to get more eyes than she would have done potentially on a different card. With bigger names in it. She's one of the bigger names on this card. Kay Hansen, though, again, we mentioned her for coming through Invicta. It is going to be an interesting one, but I do think Cory McKenna has got the tools to get the job done, and we should be expecting Cory McKenna to get a good win, move up to 6-1, and she could be looking at that strawweight division, going into 2021. Maybe not the rankings at the start, but maybe at the end of 2021, we could be expecting to see Cory McKenna popping up into that top 10 maybe, who does need a little bit of refresh. We've got some of the old school strawweights that have been there from the start and the inauguration of the strawweight division in the UFC, and we've got some now that are coming through, Miranda Ribas's, Marina Rodriguez's, and obviously Yan Xiaonan, who's coming through and taking over, you could say, and obviously the champion Weili Zhang, someone who's who's come and taken over that division now. Also in this division, we've got Ashley Yoder and Miranda Granger. Now this one did get bumped up from the prelims up to the main card after Eric Anders was unable to perform, so that fight got called off, and we had to almost have a reshuffle of the main card, and it started an hour later. It has started now, of course, but Ashley Yoder 7-6, Miranda Granger at 7-1. So again, a half decent fight, a very good one in the strawweight division. Obviously, you're looking at Ashley Yoder 7-6. You may be thinking, with all due respect, what is she? What is her skill level, and where's her ceiling in terms of the UFC? She beat Yuri Kondo and Amanda Cooper at UFC, but she lost to Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill, Justin Keesh, Randa Marcos, who's fighting on this card, and Lavina Souza. So, that's 2 wins in 7 fights. You're looking at that and going, a loss tonight against Miranda Granger probably sees her get cut, unfortunately, which would be a shame. But again, Miranda Granger 7-1. She's coming on this on a loss, but she built up a hot streak of 7 wins before that, on making her UFC debut against Hannah Goldie, of course. But she fought around a couple of the organization before that. We will look again at the tail of the tape. Of course, we mentioned there 7-6, 7-1. Both are the same height at 5'7", both the same weight, of course. And Ashley Yoder does come in with a 1.5 inch reach advantage and a leg reach advantage, or disadvantage of half an inch as well. So yes, these two, it is a tough fight to predict, but I do think Miranda Granger will get the job done. She's 7-1, and win here tonight, puts her further on in her career in the strawweight division. Maybe not quite at the Angela Hill and Mackenzie Dern, who are in that top 15 at the moment, but she'll certainly be knocking on the door with a win tonight. Especially, she'll probably be around that 25 to 20 mark, and probably 2 wins away from the top 15, you could say. Only 28 as well, so she's still got her best years to come as well. While Ashley Yoder is 33, so a loss on that, I think, for Yoder will unfortunately probably see her get cut. With all due respect to her. Now, outside of those 3 fights, you're looking at Alex Moreno versus Reece McKee. Obviously, Reece McKee made his debut in August on Fight Island, of course, against some unknown Swedish guy. I don't know what he's done throughout the rest of the year. His name's Khamzat Chimaev, something like that. Obviously, in all seriousness, Khamzat Chimaev came in there, put a very good performance on there in round 1, got him done, and got out there. And obviously, we've seen what Khamzat Chimaev has done this year, main eventing now against Leon Edwards, who's number 3 in that welterweight division, and should be fighting for a title with a win there. But if Chimaev comes in, gets a win, throws a spanner in the works that welterweight division, and then you're looking there going, oh geez, we've got a superstar now on our watch here going into 2021. But yes, Reece McKee does fight tonight, and hopefully we're looking to put that debut behind him and show what he's about, because he does deserve to be in the UFC. He's not some sort of bum or can that the UFC just brought in for Khamzat to destroy. It just happened on the night. It happens in MMA, and obviously he's coming in at 10-3-1. That was his first loss in 4 fights as well. Obviously coming from Cage Warriors, who was 3-0 in Cage Warriors, having fought in Bama prior to that as well. So it's a sad one. I'm hoping we see him over 3 rounds perform the best of his skill set and his ability, because he is someone coming through Cage Warriors and the European circuit. At least has got a big name on him, and beating Alex Moreno would be a good win for him, a good first UFC win as well. We've seen some, look at Cory McKenna, Modestas Bukauskas. We've seen some huge names come through the Cage Warriors circuit, especially this year. Mason Jones, I thought, another a Welshman in terms of Cory McKenna's, countryman. Signed for the UFC, and also got the trilogy series that is coming back in December with a couple of names, with a good couple of wins, looking to bounce into the UFC maybe. Obviously, Ross Houston fought on Bellator, of course. So yes, Reece McKee is a fantastic fighter, and one that we should all have our eyes on tonight against Alex Moreno, who's 17-6. So, quite a significant in terms of improvement in terms of the experience for Reece McKee tonight that he's facing. But again, he certainly has the skill set to get the job done. And we've got Randa Marcos fighting on this card. Again, that's going to be a good scrap. Brendan Allen, Sean Strickland, of course. This card, albeit has lost some some big names and big fighters. Brian Barberena, Daniel Rodriguez was supposed to be on tonight. Obviously, Islam Makhachev versus Rafael dos Anjos was supposed to be on this one. But nonetheless, it is a good fight card. And it's one, it's a little earlier for the UK and European fans. It's not a 3 a.m. start time for the main card. So it's worth staying up for and it's worth watching. And I'm sure it's going to bring up, these cards always do. They're not the strongest on paper, but they always bring out a spectacular knockout or submission that we've not seen before. And tomorrow morning, we're looking at someone who's a superstar in this one. Hopefully, we see Paul Felder not be on, a negative story tomorrow in terms of, being brutally knocked out or submitted or, not being able to, showing his heart maybe and continuing through the pain. Maybe hopefully we see tomorrow Paul Felder either with a win in his column or something that's positive towards the Irish Dragon, who deserves all the plaudits for stepping on a 5 days notice, as does Rafael dos Anjos for taking the fight. He could have very much easily said, I'm not fighting. I'm 5 days out from supposing to fight Islam Makhachev. Without that opponent, I'm not going to fight anymore. So yes, I'm going to leave that there, guys, because the main card is the prelim, the event itself is just starting now. But make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to drop this video a like, of course, as well as the Facebook page. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure to hit the like button and press follow as well. We're on the road to 2K followers now. But I'm going to leave that there, guys, and we'll see you on the recap for Bellator 252. Of course, we'll be covering that fantastic KO win for Pitbull, of course, over Pedro Carvalho. So yes, if you want more MMA content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the next one.